atmosphere here. And I was just thinking that this is actual life, you know, in this mundane world. You know, we're all like, you know, serious adults, you know, what's going to happen next, you know, but here we come and it's, Hare Krishna, you know, this little felt like standing up and dancing, you know, because that's the spiritual world. Every word is a song, every step is a dance, you know, that's real life, that's reality. Unfortunately, the kids know that. The kids intuitively know, you know, that life is jovial, and, you know, unfortunately, when we become adults, we tragically lose that. But that's life, that's reality. You know? We have to reawaken our spiritual understanding. So anyway, today, you know, with Tapas Prabhu in the back of my mind, I would like, I would like to focus on the Guruvastaka. You know, the Krishna consciousness movement has changed the life of a lot of Westerners. You know, we white-skinned, blue-eyed, and whatever-eyed, color-eyed Westerners, we become really impacted by the message from the Vedic scriptures that Srila Prabhupada presented since he came in 1965. And there's many reasons, you know, why Prabhupada's
This is the level I have, that's the totally wrong one.
want the sound go through that? I do have a ODM.
But this, the sound system doesn't.
Okay,
So
maybe we can just.
really have to check.
All right, I came so late. I was unfortunately missed my train in Yerna and I had to wait 1 hour. So, you know, I'm a little late, so it's my fault that I wasn't here to work out the details. But I think you can just play it on this one, maybe. What I thought to do.
And you put the mic on the computer.
Yeah, that's smart. There we have somebody who's got a brain in their head. Yeah.
Not gonna help that much because
Let me just see. No, it's quite loud here. You know,
Yeah,
it'll
we can
work.
see how because
It'll work, okay?
whatever frequency it has, the speakers will not give any more with the microphone.
To really get impact, like to actually dare to change your life, you know, it requires that one has a confidence. You know,
Hare Krishna.
in Swedish, in English it's
Sorry?
The audio is not
in Sanskrit it's called Shraddha, you know? And I think those of you who maybe know Hindi, Sanskrit, you know Shrad. I think that means heart, right? Yeah. And in English, is that better? In English, there's a saying, you know, what you put your heart into, right? So that's a little different than like faith. Like faith is a little, well, I believe in this or that or the other thing, but Shrad is actually where you feel that you are convinced about, you know, you have confidence, you know, that's more something that moves one more than simply a kind of like theological idea or something. It's something that you really do, you know, something that you are. And you could say you are what you put your heart into. You know, it's not simply a belief that, you know. Anyway, I don't want to get off the track here, but I just wanted to say that Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Krishna movement, has had a tremendous impact, and you know we can be confident that it's reliable. Several reasons. You know, Prabhupada, he has a really good track record. You know, he came in '65 to the Western world, and he had no institutional backup. He had no money. He had none of the things that are necessary to make a success. And in the last, you know, fag end of his life, he started an international movement, which has lived, you know, survived him now 60 years. So he's got a good track record, you know. So we're naturally feel that's reliable, that someone can do something really astounding that, you know, that gives us confidence. But the other thing is that Prabhupada was totally what you call transparent. You know, he wasn't making up something on his own, but he was like just allowing something to go through him. And where does that come from? It comes from his spiritual master. And his spiritual master got it from his spiritual master. And his spiritual master got it from his spiritual master. His spiritual. So this is the Guru Parampara. I can take one also. Do you have one?
I can share it.
Okay. Everybody got one in the vicinity? Yeah,
Yes.
great. Oh, no. Thank you for asking. I'm sorry, thanks, okay. More about that later. But transparency that, Prabhupada was, he compared himself to a mailman. The mailman comes with your paycheck. It doesn't work that way anymore. They used to, you would get a check in the mail. Now it's all digitalized. But anyway, somebody will come, the mailman will deliver a letter to you, which is very important to you. It's essential. And the mailman, you feel like, oh, thank you, sir. I've been waiting here for so long, and you delivered it. Now I'm so relieved. So he compared himself like that. And so his spiritual master, and it goes back to Chaitanya, who only 500 years ago. It's not a long time in terms of cosmic ages. So only 500 years ago we have Krishna in the form of his devotee. So this gives us another reason to really feel that this is reliable. And what was Chaitanya presenting? He was presenting the Bhagavad Gita and the Puranas, like we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, the most accessible form of the Vedic message that is here for us in this present age of Kali. So that's why I wanted to speak today a little about the Guru, the importance of the Guru. And in our line, there are different lines of gurus, like I'm sure there are different families from India here who have different gurus who adhere to different lines, because Krishna comes in different forms, and he allows us to approach him in different ways, yeah? Today's Easter, for example, so, Krishna would have absolutely nothing against someone approaching him through love and devotion to Lord Jesus Christ. What to speak of if Krishna would be very pleased if someone would approach him through the form of Vishnu, or someone would approach him, through some other form. There are so many different avatars that Krishna has kindly given us, because he knows that he wants to make himself accessible, and he likes variety, and we are all different and unique, so he has allowed us to approach. So anyway, in our Prabhupada's line it's called Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Gaudiya means it's from Bengal. That means it has to do with Chaitanya, right? And it's Vaishnava. Chaitanya was in the line of the Vishnu. He goes back to Madhva, but there's also Ramanuja, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka. There's different lines in the Vaishnava. But in our case, in our line, there's one very important spiritual master who appeared. It says here in the paper. I only got one side here. I didn't get both sides. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yes, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, 1626 to 1708. A very, very learned guru. And he wrote these 8 prayers in praise of the spiritual master. So I thought we would have a look at them, okay? And say, first of all, the Sanskrit that he wrote, and then the English translation of his literal translation. And then I would like to have a listen to this poetic English version of a godbrother of mine, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. His name was, he's no longer with us, Kula Shekhar. He was the first British devotee to join the Hare Krishna movement in like 1968 or something. And he was here in Sweden, in Stockholm, when I was fortunate enough to, stumble into the temple there in Gravegatan. He was here then, yeah. And he was very musical, and he wrote an English version of this, in his own words, and it's very nice. So let's have a look, okay? So first of all, the Sanskrit is, there's 8 verses. We'll take one by one. The first one is Samsara Dava Nala Lida Loka Tranaya Karun Yagana Ganacham Praptasya Kalyana Gunarna Vasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda. Now the English translation is that the spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy. And then he uses a metaphor of a cloud. Just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire, that's really that's the only solution if you have a forest fire, you don't get there with the fire engines. But if the cloud comes with, downpour of water, problem solved. Right? So the spiritual master, he's from the ocean of mercy, he's like a cloud pouring down on the forest fire of material existence. So he's comparing our material existence with wars in Ukraine and in Iran and in Sudan and everywhere, going on and on and on. It's a forest fire. So what to speak of our personal lives where we're getting old and we know our days are numbered. Some of us, we're fortunate we don't have to wonder about, we know that the end is near. Some of us, we're very fortunate. We don't have to, guess. When you're young, you can think, well, maybe I'll die, who knows, like you have an accident. But when you're, like old, and the body's giving signs that, it's time. So then, you don't have to wonder anymore. So it's a kind of advantage in a way. It may sound a little morbid to those who are like, no, I want to live a long time. That's good, live a long time. That's a nice ambition. But remember, tomorrow, there's no guarantee. Anyway, to get back to the point, this is a forest fire, this material existence, either socially or, personally. So the spiritual master, he extinguishes this. So that's a quality of the spiritual master. If you feel that you're free from anxiety, that's the sign of you really have a contact with a genuine spiritual master. You can feel it in your heart. I'm no longer afraid. I'm no longer worried. I feel, that I feel in contact with the certainty. That's the spiritual master. And therefore, the last line is that I offer, therefore, my humble obeisances. I bow down before such a spiritual master. And he's my master. I am his servant. I listen to what he says, and I know that this is in my best interest, even if it's hard to understand. I don't mind. I'm going to try my best, although I'm, critical of my own shortcomings, but still, I'm going to do my best. I don't care if I can't even manage, but I'm going to try. That's a servant. Okay, so let's look at the first verse and listen to Kula Shekhar, okay? Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Go back up a little here.
The spiritual master receives benediction direct from the ocean of mercy above, like rain pouring down on the forest fire blazing, dancing in
nice loud voice. Okay.
The first verse.
Yeah, the first verse.
Okay, this version and this version.
Oh, there's two
Before the
versions.
version,
Yes,
refrain and
I don't see what you're saying, I don't have, don't you have what we just heard?
yeah.
Yeah, the spiritual master,
The spiritual master receives benediction direct from the ocean of mercy above,
above,
like rain pouring down on a forest fire blazing, dosing it out with no effort at all.
dousing it out, this
Dousing.
is a special word, dousing means, you know, pour water on something, you're dousing it out with no effort at all.
No effort at all.
No effort, it's easy for him.
So my master's mercy poured down on his servant, ending the fire of my material life.
Hmm. And then, this one goes on first.
To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I bow with deep respect and feelings of love. My master is an ocean of divine qualities, surrendered to the Lord. Shri Shri Radhe Shyam.
Yes. Okay, any questions or comments on the first verse? Otherwise, we'll go on to verse number 2. Mataji, yes. Uduranga Mataji, our eldest devotee here in the house. Please.
Because the spiritual master is an ocean of spiritual qualities.
Spiritual master is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Right. Why? Because he's not just an ordinary person, he's actually Krishna in the form of Krishna's servant. He's the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. You know, he's Sakshat Hari. Okay, we're gonna get to that. Wait, we're getting ahead of time. Anything else? Comment, question? Okay, verse number 2. Somebody know it, or should I say it? Mahaprabhu Kirtan, you can speak up with verse number 3 if you like, either the Sanskrit or the English, you know, but I'll take 2, okay? Mahaprabhu, go ahead.
Mahaprabhu Kirtan Nitya Kirtan Pavitra Madhya Manasora Sena Ramancha Kampha Kalanga Vajo Viveka Sharma.
Right, and that's the Sanskrit, which translates spiritual masters is always engaged in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah, and because he's, you know, just like when we walked in here, when I walked in here, I was like stunned with this feeling of, you know, happy mood of, you know, chanting, you know, with Ashok Prabhu and somebody playing Mridanga and everybody chorus singing. You know, it gives a feeling of like relief, you know, from coming from the tunnel bana. You know, so that's the spiritual master. Because he's in this mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he sometimes, you know, he's on a platform of transcendental, spontaneous joy. And because of that, you know, tears flow from his eyes. And, you know, his hair actually is called horripilations. His hair stands on end, you know, because he's in the form of the Sankirtan, the name, he's seeing Krishna personally. He's seeing that the name and Krishna, they're exactly the same. They're identical. He's there. That's the perfection of the Sankirtan. And it'll take some time, you know, don't be worried if you're not, you know, feeling that ecstasy just at the moment. But, you know, that even a little glimmer of what happiness or feeling of confidence and peace and, you know, happiness at the Sankirtan, that's going in the right direction. So anyway, the spiritual master is, spiritual master is always in, right. Okay, so now let's listen to Kulashe Karpavu. Number 2. Please look at your papers. He speaks with, he's a Brit, so he speaks British English. So maybe, it's not so easy to look at we'll talk about it. Okay, here we go. Number 2.
Chanting Hare Krishna, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing various instruments. The spiritual master is bathed in deep love. His body erupts with ecstatic symptoms. His tears pouring down, hair standing on end. He appears to be just like one who is mad. To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I bow with deep respect and feelings of love. The master is an ocean of divine qualities, surrendered to the Lord Shishira Isha.
Okay, somebody like to read the translation? Read out loud.
From English to Swedish.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Translation in number 2.
What did you
Just
say?
it.
Just read it. Just
Read it.
In English.
Look at us.
Loud and clear, please.
Chanting Hare Krishna, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing various instruments. My spiritual masters bathed in deep love.
What was that? My spiritual master is
Bathed in love.
bathing in love.
Bathed.
Bathing in love?
Past participle.
Deep love.
Bathed. Past.
Past partial.
Yeah.
He's bathed in deep love.
Thank you.
Okay, I got it. All right. I'm old,
Bathed.
my ears don't work so good.
And my accent is horrible. His body erupts with ecstatic symptoms.
Erupts. You know this word? Like a volcano. Erupts with what?
Ecstatic symptoms.
Ecstatic symptoms.
His tears pouring down, hair standing on end. He appears to be just like one who is mad.
Like mad, a crazy person. He's not worried about what the Joneses think next door or anything. And then it goes
Oh,
on.
refrain, sorry. To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I bow with deep respect and feelings of love. My master is an ocean of divine qualities. Surrendered to the Lord, Shri Radhe Sham.
Shri Shri Radhe Sham. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your pronunciation. Okay.
Loud and clear.
A little bit
That's right.
Italian style.
I can put an accent if you want.
More.
Okay, any questions or comments on verse number 2?
It's far out.
Yeah, he looked funny when he heard the word. He's dancing just like one who is mad. You usually don't think that's a compliment, Somebody's going mad, they're crazy. But, in the spiritual platform, it's a different platform, for us, it's inconceivable, how somebody can be totally seeing Krishna 24 hours a day and still, be in this world like Prabhupada was very, very conscientious about, his organization. His mission was to start an institution. That's not an easy job. That's not an easy job, I'll tell you, but that's what his spiritual master sent him to do. Because internationally, the Krishna consciousness would never be possible if it weren't in the form of a modern institution. That means there's like, a hierarchy with a board of directors and, oh my God, what an incredible headache this is, But, he wasn't, in the Christians, they say, in the world, but not of it. And I think that's a good description, he's mad head, you know? He's really in his own, okay? Nice. Any other comments or questions in verse number 2? Otherwise, we'll carry on to 3. We have a limited amount of time, so we can't. Okay, let's go on to number 3. Somebody want to say it, or should I say the Sanskrit first of all? What's that? Okay, now this is the one that made, I cannot help but think of Tapas Prabhu in this one. Okay, so yeah, the spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, or Sri Sri Govardhan, Nitai Gaurasundar. Yeah, he's engaging his disciples in worshiping and bathing, cleaning the temple, preparing the food, you know, everything. He's engaging his disciples. Sometimes the spiritual master will even get down himself and show you, this is how you clean the floor, you know, with the rag here, and wring it out, and then you put it wet again. You know, he would do everything, how to serve the deity. And therefore the disciples, they bathe and clothe the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments. They clean the temple, and in this way they're engaged, you know, from early morning, you know, until late evening. So that's, you know, sometimes they say, oh, I have faith in God, but the devotees, they see God, you know. That's the Bhagavad Gita spends so many times, especially the 11th chapter, but there's many interests to see God, you know. Krishna promises that if you surrender unto me, then I promise you, you will see me. So, you know, we're all looking at the deity here, and, you know, we're seeing God. And how can, you know, Lajavati Mataji's been serving the deity here so faithfully year after year since decades under sometimes difficult circumstances. You know, is she not seeing the deity? I think so. You know, so we're, okay, so now let's listen to number 3 here. Here we go. Please look at your papers now, number 3.
The spiritual master worships the deities, all planted by lordships. Shri Shri Radha Krishna, attentive disciples, assist as they dress them with beautiful clothes and jewel ornaments. To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I bow with deep respect and feelings of love. My master is an ocean of divine qualities, surrendered to the Lord Sri Sri Radha.
Somebody read?
I can try.
Go ahead,
You go
please.
ahead.
The spiritual master worships the deities, bathing their lordships, Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Attentive disciples assist as they dress them.
Attentive disciples who are paying great attention. Attentive disciples, dress them. Yeah.
With beautiful clothes and jewel ornaments. Refrain. To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I bowed with deep respect and feelings of love. My master is an ocean of divine qualities, surrendered to the Lord Sri Sri Radha.
Yes. Like Bhakti Nidhi Prabhu asked me, he said, you know, what about a garland? You know, so the devotees have stitched together garlands. I think, you know, Padmavati, she's probably doing some, you know, stitching work or whatever. And, you know, there's a nice mukut, you know, called Indula in Sanskrit, you know, and there's, you know, this and that, so many details. A whole room there full of, you know, jeweled things there. So this is love. And this is learned from the spiritual master, how to engage our senses in the service of the Lord. Okay, that was 3. Any questions or comments? Number 3? Yeah.
We have maybe all heard about the eightfold pastimes, Lila pastimes of Radha and Krishna. What they are doing, all the clock around around the clock.
Yeah.
And this is of course a meditation for devotees. But when there is Radha Krishna deities, then the worship on the altar, it goes exactly along with these eightfold pastimes. So they are like following that, what Krishna is doing. It's not just offering. Here we have Sitinipadwar, there's a little other standard, but if there is Radha Krishna, like foremost service, then they follow these 8 steps.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
The second line in this third verse was Shingarata, Shingara.
Shringar. That's a name for the decorations of the Shringar.
And then Mandira, Shingara Mandira Marjananda.
Mandira, that's temple.
Yeah.
Marjanado, that means cleaning,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm not really finding this translation. This is actually what we were doing that day, this Saturday. Yeah, we were, or this Friday actually, we were doing Mahaklina.
Mahaklina here, yeah. Everyone, yeah, this is practical, Guru Seva, the spiritual master is empowered and enabled, ordered us to keep it clean. They want somebody said, Prabhupada, there's an English saying, cleanliness is next to godliness. Have you ever heard that? Prabhupada said, no, cleanliness is godliness. So he was, so emphatic, about you have to keep it clean. The temple is not it has to be first class clean. And that includes also, building, like the altar was built out here, and this room was renovated again, and the paintings were, made, and all this is Mandira Marjan. Okay, we better move on. Oh, yes, okay.
But Chaitanya was personally engaging in this in Jagannath Puri,
Gundicha Marjana, yes. Cleaning the temple, because Jagannath, would leave once a year on the Rath Yatra and go down to the Gundicha. And before that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciples would thoroughly clean it like that. Okay, very nice. Let's move on. Text number 4. Chat. Oh, yeah, please, go ahead. The spiritual master is always engaged, is always offering to Krishna 4 kinds of delicious foodstuffs, that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. And when the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by taking the prasadam, he becomes satisfied. Therefore I offer my most humble obeisances unto that spiritual master. Right. And Prabhupada would cook, himself. And, he taught us, besides, first of all, to become vegetarian, basic, harmless diet, right? But then he also taught us, eat healthy, not just, fast food or something. You have to have dal, or khichdi, or something, legumes, pulses, they say in India, and together with grains. Then it becomes really protein, and, Right, Marie? You're a nurse, you know, protein-rich diet, right?
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, that will, keep you going, When I became a vegetarian in 1970, my brother shook his head, my big brother, he was like a father figure. He looked at me and said, you better go to the doctor, get vitamins or something, you're not gonna live. He was 6'6", his little brother, he was go to the doctor. Eat something substantial. Okay, so let's listen to we're gonna listen now to Kulashekar, number 4 now, okay?
The spiritual master of Sri Krishna. 4 pints of food stalls, we drink chulikosa. The spiritual master feels no satisfaction. See devotees enjoy Bhagavad Prasad. To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I bow with deep respect and feelings of love. Master is an ocean of divine qualities. Surrender to the Lord Shri Shri Radhesham.
Anyone like to read this one? Yes, sir.
The spiritual master offers Sri Krishna 4 kinds of foodstuffs you drink, lick, chew or suck. The spiritual master feels full satisfaction seeing devotees enjoy Bhagavad Prasad. To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I go with deep respect and feelings of love. My master is an ocean of divine qualities. Surrender to the Lord Shri Shri Radha.
A question here. How many of us have had the experience that my mother cooked for you, and then when you had good appetite and you ate a lot, your mother looked really happy? How many of us have had that experience? Everybody. Yeah, So this is a reflection of the spiritual master. She's Adi Guru. Yeah. Okay, any questions or comments? Text number 4, otherwise we go into 5. Thank you for reading, sir. That was real clear and nice. Okay, we go into number 5 now. Spiritual master, he's always eager to hear and chant about the transcendental pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And, so that's the Sringara Ras. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's line, this is considered to be the highest form of worship in this mood of conjugal love, the love between Radha and Krishna. Krishna as, the transcendental male, and his internal pleasure potency in the form of the transcendental female. That is considered to be the highest form of worship. And so the spiritual master is always eager to remember that and talk about it. This is very advanced form of bhakti, of devotion. Of course, there are different relationships. Krishna has his mother, and his father, Nanda Maharaj. He has, his friends, Raktaka and Patraka, and the cowherd boys, Balaram. Here we have Nityananda and Chaitanya. They're actually Krishna and Balaram. So, he has his friends also, of course. And he has also servers, And even, he has relationships with everyone in Vrindavan. The cows, they're all, transcendental. It's not like an animal in this world. or even the flute in Krishna's hand. It's a conscious server, conscious dasya-rasa. Shanta-rasa it's called, passive, but, a conscious server. And the flowers on Krishna's breast, in his garland, these are all conscious. It's a different world. Okay, what's next? We're gonna listen. No, we just listened. Where are we? Did we listen to it? No, we didn't listen. Okay, let's listen to text number 5 now, okay? Text 5 now.
The spiritual master loves hearing and chanting about the conjugal pastimes of Bhagavan. The qualities names, rules and exchanges are relished by him each and every moment. To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I bow with deep respect and feelings of love. My master is an ocean of divine qualities. Surrender to the Lord Shri Radhesha.
Any question? Can someone read it? Now we'll read the translation. Number 5. Go ahead.
The spiritual master.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Loves hearing and
That's
chanting
Samasok.
Oh.
about the conjugal pastimes of Radhika Madhava. Their qualities, names, forms, and exchanges are relished by him each and every moment. To the divine lotus feet of my spiritual master, I bow with deep respect and feelings of love. My master is an ocean of divine qualities. Surrender to the Lord, Shri Radhesha.
There's something wonderful here about conjugal love. Krishna, God is not a bachelor. Today is, the Easter, the resurrection of Lord Jesus Christ. My parents, with blood, sweat, and tears, tried to teach me to love Jesus, and I hope it's still there. Krishna will certainly preserve what I have, he promised, whatever I had. And, but, in the Christian concept, I don't mean to speak, deprecatingly, but, the idea of God and his spouse, it's not really there, But in the idea of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it's the highest ideal. God enjoys loving, spiritual, transcendental, completely pure, unselfish, conjugal love with his internal pleasure potency. It's not like, the material so-called love. Okay? Any questions or comments about 5? Yes, Mr. Ashok.
Basically, maybe a bit provocative question, but
A
if,
provocative question. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
You mentioned the dogmas, the kind of love expression between God and Krishna, but at the same time we stress the importance of marriage and especially having sex life within the marriage and all those exchanges between women and men. So how do these things connect?
Dharma viruddha bhuteshu. Krishna says sex life is fine, dharma, but not for selfish purposes. That's going to get you in big trouble. So yeah, we all have our fates in this regard, don't we? We all know. But ultimately, the verdict is that family life is a dark well. Okay, if it is, there's 4 things. If you have family life with the 4 things, that is that you always have Bhagavad Gita every day, and that you offer all your food to the Lord, you're chanting Hare Krishna, and also that you are deities, you have deities at home, you know. So if you have these four things, then your family is not a dark well. But you know, this is kind of rare, you know, speaking from my own experience, that, you know, the family life is politics and diplomacy, and, you know, we're not meant for this. We're actually meant to join the spiritual family in Goloka Vrindavan. So, you know, if our family life turns out to be a disappointment or a failure, join the club. Okay?
But at the same time, it's like it's a reflection also. Sometimes say perverted reflection.
Yeah.
Because Radha and Krishna, they have their pastimes. And we have it in a kind of reflection here, or a mirroring, or a perverted reflection, as we say. So,
Yeah, but you know, the parents have a tremendous responsibility that the children will have a confidence that I know who my mother and father are. And then, you know, when they get to be 12 or 13 and they have to like make their decisions there when all the others are dragging them this way and that way on Friday night, and they're trying to build an identity at the same time, that they'll think, whoa, my father would not approve of what these guys are asking me to do this, you know, then you've done your job. More than that, you can't do, you know. They have their, you know, choices to make. But you can be faithful to your integrity. You know, my spiritual master, you know, does not approve of illicit sex, intoxication, gambling. I'm not going to do it. If the father and mother does have that integrity, then the children will be unmistakably affected by that, whatever direction they go. Even if they go in a completely different direction than what the parents expect, but they will be, you know, specially protected if the parents have that integrity. Okay? Number 5, that was now 6. Any other questions about 5? Okay, 6. How are we doing for time? Are we way over? Our time's over.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll continue with this next time, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll continue next time because we have a program to follow. Okay, but we've done 5 now, okay? So stay tuned. Coming back on the same channel.
The rest one are even more esoteric.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it becomes more, you know, we don't want to just, you know, run through them. Okay? Any last questions, comments?
And the 7th one is super subtle.
Yeah, that we need to think about. All right. Okay, go on. Can I collect these?